Hi guys, constitutional attorney Katherine Henry here, and hopefully today will be a short video. I just want to address the responses I was getting out of my video yesterday. So yesterday, for those of you who haven't seen it, I did a video that told people what House Bill 5672 did, and while I was in the course of doing the video, one of our viewers informed me that it was actually 104 of our legislators that voted in favor of this horrendous bill. So at any rate, since I did call them out by name, and I had already explained why this bill is horrible, apparently that made our legislators a little bit angry with me. So there were a few comments that, just as an example, I wanted to address. And I'm hot as all get out today, so I'm probably much slower than I normally am. So again, keep in mind, these are the legislators who voted in favor, voted yes on House Bill 5672, claiming it was a fabulous bill for employees because it protected them from employers trying to force microchipping as a condition of employment. What many of them, maybe all of them, failed to either realize or failed to at least disclose to their constituents is that this bill has two absolutely atrocious provisions. One that essentially allows, at least acknowledges that courts could just order a person to be microchipped, no big deal, right? Let's see, specifically it allows for the implanting of a microchipping device, the ingesting or inhaling of a microchipping device. Yeah, totally benign, right? Obviously a court should be able to do that. So one example I did not put in my, I guess I should say, I just posted a written post a few minutes ago. So you guys are going to want to reference that because that has, well, more writing in it, more information. And it also has the 3 pictures where I took the bill language and used a red pen to make corrections so that you can see it wouldn't have been that hard to write it correctly in the first place, and it certainly wouldn't be that hard to modify it and correct it now, so that we can salvage this bill. If they truly are wanting to salvage this, if they truly are trying to fight for freedom and trying to protect employees, okay, then show us what you're made of and fix this bill this way. Don't fix one of the problems, fix all of the problems. So one of the things I did not point out, though, one of the comments that was shared with me that I did not write about, was this concept that one of the state reps was sharing about, well, I believe it was Jack OMalley that was saying to his constituents, well, if you can't really think that microchipping, is always bad. I mean, a court could obviously order microchipping if, say a defendant needs to be on, they would otherwise have a tether, or, they're on house arrest, something like that. Microchipping is essentially the new kind of tethering. Really? I mean, if somebody wants to go for that option, I guess, maybe. But no way, whether it's a criminal case, a civil case, any kind of case, should a judge be able to order a human being to put a tracking device or microchip of any kind into their body ever. So if you're one of those state reps that thinks that would be okay in a criminal case, yeah. Criminal defendants have rights too. Those are guaranteed to us in the Constitution. And criminal defendants don't lose their rights when they're in the course of dealing with their case. And yes, I do say this as someone who has served as a public defender in 2 different states and represented a multitude of clients. And no, my clients were not always innocent, but they're always human beings. And they always should have human dignity. And never should any of them be forced to inject something into their bodies. So, aside from that, wanted to address a couple of the other things that were raised. First of all, oh gosh, what has Trump been calling our governor? That woman from Michigan? Well, apparently, what am I called now? I was called the woman. I'm just the woman. Well, I guess that's cool. I'm the woman. Thank you, Representative Michele Hoitenga. I guess I'll take that as a compliment because I am the one and only, apparently. But she ever so lovingly wrote yesterday that essentially people like me are misinterpreting this this bill, right? So when someone asked her point blank on her page, which by the way, when I looked today, that post is somehow gone. She took off the post from one of her constituents because they wanted to know why she voted on yes on House Bill 5672. But anyway, the question she was asked was, why did she vote yes on House Bill 5672 and the employer microchipping of employees? And then specifically, she was asked about, Section 3, subsection 3, where it allows a court to order microchipping of employees. So her response was this: people are misinterpreting it. We have asked our legal counsel to address the video the woman has put out. I'll post about it tomorrow. Aw, that's so nice. I'm so glad to get a shout out in generic pronouns. But I didn't misinterpret anything. I actually just told people what the language of the law said, the bill, excuse me, and asked for help in making sure our legislators don't pass it on through the Senate like this so it doesn't become law. So interestingly enough, by this morning, she then posted that the bill does currently include provisions that allow an employer to fire someone that is in direct violation of a court order related to microchip implantation. Wait a minute. Let's rewind. The bill does currently include provisions that allow an employer to fire someone that is in direct violation of a court order related to microchip implantation. Pretty sure that's what I was saying yesterday. Maybe I didn't misinterpret it. This bill is now in the Senate, and if people are concerned about a section of the bill, it can be changed. It also comes back to us for a second vote, and we can make changes. Bottom line is no one is being forced to be microchipped. But if certain language has people concerned, I support changing that. Okay, first of all, if she really supports freedom and supports changing that, I do applaud that. So make sure if you are in her district, you reach out to her and you let her know that you are concerned about that and you appreciate that she's willing to change it for the better, in all seriousness. But on the other hand, if people are concerned about that section of the bill, Why would a self-proclaimed foot soldier of the Constitution, if you look at her banner on Facebook, it says foot soldier of the Constitution, why would the self-proclaimed foot soldier of the Constitution wait for others to be concerned about parts of the bill that, number one, allow for an employer to fire you for not getting a microchip implanted if there's a court order directing people to be microchipped, and number two, severely limit the amount an employee can recover from an employer who illegally requires them to implant a microchip? It does those two things. They voted yes with the bill doing those two things. And she wants to wait to see if other people might be concerned about some of the language in the bill. If you're a self-proclaimed foot soldier of the Constitution, I don't even have words to finish that sentence. Why would you vote yes on a bill that does those two things? Seriously. If you want to just openly say that you're a moderate, you sometimes like freedom, you sometimes like government control, I mean, that would be more honest. And then you could say, well, if people are, wanting it changed, I'm open to changing it, yeah. But don't say you're a foot soldier of the Constitution and then say you're going to wait for people to tell you when there's a problem with one of the bills you're voting on that's forcing people to inject things into their bodies for any reason. It shouldn't just be limited to employees. That's a whole other story. But yes, you should be talking to your legislators about where is the bill? What bill number is it that just protects anyone from having to have a microchip implanted into their bodies, regardless of if they're an employer or an employee, I don't care. Human beings should never be forced to have a microchip implanted into their bodies. So, just noticed my dad got here. So I had to smile about that because my dad and my baby sister and my stepmom got here, and I haven't seen my dad I haven't seen my baby sister or my stepmom. I don't know. That might be since December, but the only time I've seen my dad in recent months is working on this petition drive for the constitutional amendment we're working on. So I'm excited that they came tonight to have dinner with me and celebrate my birthday. Woo! My birthday is tomorrow, but of course tomorrow I'm going to Traverse City, so hanging out with the Frisky family. State Rep Branagh, I believe I'm pronouncing her name correctly. She admits that the bill was written very similarly to Indiana's law, which includes the part about the courts having the ability to order employees to be microchipped. And then she says that as the bill moves to the Senate and goes through the deliberative legislative process, we're working to make sure the court option is completely removed, and we're also looking at increasing the penalties. So it sounds like she's addressing both things that we talked about yesterday, to make it an even better bill to protect workers from ever being forced to be chipped. Okay. However, then someone pointed her out to my video yesterday about this. And so in response to that, she says, quote, "It's very concerning that me, is saying this. As I mentioned in my comment, the court section is being stripped, which is part of the deliberative legislative process." Seriously? It's concerning that I told people you voted yes on this bill and then told them about the two very things you just admitted are in the bill. Whew. So, it's interesting that she's concerned that I'm telling people what's actually in the bill and who voted for that bill, but which, by the way, is a horrible invasion of our personal liberties. But one would think that she would be more concerned about the fact that the bill, as approved by her and 103 other legislators last week, at least impliedly allows courts to mandate employees to be microchipped and severely limits an employee's ability to recover damages from an employer who forces them to be microchipped as a condition of their employment. She should be more concerned about the language of the bill. I guess, what can you say about that other than typical politicians are more concerned about their public image than about doing the right thing? Let's think about that for a minute. More concerned that I'm exposing the truth and letting voters all across the state of Michigan know exactly what is in the bill, reading the language to you, and then telling you as voters all across Michigan who voted in favor of such a crappy bill. And she's concerned that I would do that. She's concerned that the people would have information about the laws being passed by their elected representatives. I'm thinking that's kind of an important part of the Republican form of government that's required under the U.S. Constitution, Article 4, Section 4. State Rep Matt Hall also commented that we're on the same side here. The legislation is intended to stop employers from being able to microchip. They used a model act that Indiana adopted. I did not see this stuff when I was reviewing the bill. I talked to the bill sponsor, and she is going to make sure it is fixed in the Senate to meet the bill's intent. And I do truly appreciate that he admitted that he did not see what was actually in the bill when he voted in favor of it. I do appreciate that. But I would suggest we should all be concerned that so many of our state reps can vote for such a terrible bill under the same circumstances. So some of them, like Jack OMalley, claim that it's okay sometimes to have a court order people to be microchipped. Absolutely. It could be in a criminal case. It could take the place of a tether. Others, though, said very clearly that they just didn't see it in there. They didn't know. They thought I was lying about it. That concerns me, and I hope it concerns you. I know they're busy, but if you're too busy to read the entire language of a bill, vote no or abstain. Don't vote yes to regulate the people in a way that you have no idea what's in there. So, as I told several of these state reps today, I just laid eyes on my baby sister for the first time in a few months. I'll be right in, Ellie. If they removed Section 3, subsection 3, and then added punitive and statutory damages to what an employee may recover under Section 4, it would be a good bill. Honestly, it wouldn't take very much to make this a good bill, but it's absolutely horrendous as it is. So, as it is currently written, it is literally awful for freedom. There is no good reason for voting yes on a bill when its current language specifically allows courts to order people to comply with microchipping. And, an employer may fire someone when they don't follow a court directive to get microchipped. And when the bill makes it a huge burden of proof for an employee to be able to recover any damages from their employers for doing something like this to them. The language of the bill, as they voted on it, 104-2, with 3 abstentions, makes it a huge burden for the person to not only prove that the employer did this to them, but then they have to prove every penny that they're out of pocket. If they don't recover because it's actual damages. That's all they're allowed in the current bill, actual damages. So, a bill like this does not protect employees at all. The way it's written, it does not protect them. It actually hurts them. It also sets a bad precedent, if you will, going forward on what other bills might be passed against the rest of us for having to be microchipped in other settings. And it severely limits an employee's ability to recover an appropriate amount from an employer requiring them to implant something into their bodies. So whether you're a senator or a representative, whatever, you need to make sure the bill is good before you vote yes on it. So despite some of them claiming that voting yes on a terrible bill before it is fixed is, quote, part of the deliberative legislative process, end quote, it should never be part of the process to vote yes on a bill without, first of all, ever reading the entire thing, or without understanding the entire thing, or just based upon the promises of what the bill is seeking to accomplish. It doesn't matter what legislative counsel tells you. It doesn't matter what the bill's sponsor tells you. It doesn't matter what the lobbyists tell you. If you read the bill language and you don't plainly and clearly understand, without any undue influence from any of these other people, if you can't understand what it sets out to accomplish, if it doesn't match up with what they say it's setting out to accomplish, then it doesn't. Vote no on it. It's that simple. You don't vote yes on it and then say, well, we'll clean it up later. How is that truly any different than Nancy Pelosi saying, well, we got to vote on Obamacare because it's so long, hundreds or thousands of pages. We got to vote on it before we have a chance to read it and really know what's in it. Are you freaking kidding me? You think that's how this works? I would honestly love to know. I'm going to do a survey. I'm going to try to remember to post that. I'm going to do a survey of how many people honestly think it's acceptable for a legislator to vote in favor on a bill without fully reading it and understanding it. I would really like to think that not a single one of you who's a registered voter would be okay with that. That's not a Democrat-Republican thing. That's an intelligence thing. That's a common sense thing. That's being reasonable. That's called actually representing the people you're there to represent. Would you sign your name to a legal document without reading it? Because that's literally what you're doing. When you're voting on a bill which will become law, you are signing your name to a document. So would you? Would you sign a contract without even reading it? If you're the kind of person that signs a contract without reading it just because somebody else told you it's okay, should you really be a state rep? My personal view is no, you shouldn't, but I can't wait to hear what the rest of you think about that. And I don't care if it takes time. Doing the right thing does take time sometimes, but guess what? You got to do the right thing anyway. You don't take shortcuts because you want to go home early enough to get a snack and hang out with your kids. And I'm spending time doing the right thing and I'm missing out on all that fun stuff. I eat my first meal of the day typically between 10 and 11 at night. Is it healthy? No. Do I like it? No. Does anybody recommend it for me? No. But if that's a sacrifice I have to make at this stage of my life to do the right thing, so be it. So another piece that I want to point you out to is, why are these legislators, why do they keep going to get advice from the very people that write the terrible bills in the first place? So you have the legislative council who's going to be drafting these bills, and then the people say, holy cow, look what's in here, this is awful. And then the legislators go, oh, well, we'll just ask the legislative council about this and see what they have to say. They drafted the crappy bill in the first place. Why would you believe what they have to say? And why are we paying them money to draft crappy bills like that clearly violate the Constitution? Especially if they're attorneys, they also took an oath to uphold the U.S. and Michigan constitutions despite not being an elected official. So if there's someone on the legislative council that is drafting bills and they weren't understanding when they drafted this one 5672. If they really didn't understand the horrible implications of the language they were putting together, they shouldn't be there in the first place. Honestly, I don't care if they're fresh out of law school. I don't care if they've been around in the business for 40 years. It doesn't matter. If somebody really doesn't understand what they're doing with that big of an implication there, they shouldn't be drafting bills in the first place. But quite frankly, the whole legislative council should be abolished, which is one of the things my constitutional amendment does, which is why most of the legislators are not too happy with me right now, because they don't want to have to do that. They don't want to have to write the laws that they vote on. So I'm going to ask you guys to check out that post I did right before I signed on to this video. Look at the images that I put. There's 3 images. The red markings are what I was either taking out or the pieces I was, adding to. Simple enough changes that can be made, and it can actually be a fantastic bill. They should have done it in the first place, but now the Senate has the opportunity to do it, and then the House can vote on those changes if the Senate does the right thing and fixes it. Make sure, though, that you are contacting your senators and your state reps and the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader, and you are letting them know. You are letting them know specifically that you oppose the bill's current court order exception, and tell them that they must add punitive and statutory damages to the remedies available to employees. If you're wondering why I say that, shoot, I didn't print what I was going to say there. Michigan law, and I'll add this to the, if it'll let me, I'll add this right to the post. I'll edit the words at the top of this post. If not, I'll throw it in the comments. But Michigan courts have clearly established that you cannot get punitive damages unless the statute on point calls for it. The legislature has to say, okay, this is a bad enough situation that we want to make sure punitive damages are available because we want to make sure that no other employers will do this to anyone again. Punitive damages are not meant to just account for a specific dollar amount that an employee is out. It's meant to tell employers all across the state, you have no stinking right to force a human being to implant something into their body ever for any reason. And statutory damages are allowed, and the legislature can pick whatever amount they deem appropriate. Sometimes they throw something super small in there, like $500. Sometimes they throw in something much, much bigger than that. But statutory damages are what the legislature is essentially saying to everyone as a public policy statement. If you do this, when you harm someone in this way, it is worth at least this amount. On top of that, they get their actual damages, which is going to compensate them for any actual out-of-pocket expenses because of it. And punitive damages, did you just confuse me? Did I just talk about punitive? Punitive damages will stop them from that part is meant to serve as a deterrent so that other employers don't do this again. I had a distraction. I had a Black's Law Dictionary and a new paralegal walking up to me at the time I was trying to explain that to you. Were there questions? I'm sweating to death in here. I'm pretty sure it's 95 right here.
Comment, House members don't read it, and they are basically told what to do by the Speaker of the House.
Yes, House members typically, I am finding out more and more, typically do not read the bills, and they are being told what to do by leadership, and that's not okay. That needs to stop. I don't care if leadership is Republican or Democrat. I don't care if you're part of the Constitution Party or the Libertarian Party or you're an independent. It doesn't matter. This is not a Republican-Democrat thing. This is a common sense thing. If you are elected there to represent your constituents, not simply to take directions on how to vote from leadership, whichever party it is, no matter which individual it is. There are other questions?
More comments of agreement, wanting you to run for governor. Who was behind the bill?
Behind the bill, yesterday's video that I did listed, wait, you know what? I have it here. Don't worry. Give me a second. In the course of my melting in my garage, I forgot that I actually had that information here. So this was introduced by, oh, I guess I didn't make that connection. Oh, how cute. The lead sponsor of the bill is one of them that claimed that it's part of the deliberative process to start off with a craptastic bill that violates your rights. Woo! Yeah, and she's concerned about me sharing the information with you. Branagh, and then Riley, LeGrand, and Rundon are the ones that introduced this bill on March 17th.
Question, if Indiana jumped off the cliff, should Michigan too?
Fair question. So if Indiana jumps off the cliff, should Michigan do it too? I would think not.
Another run for governor. You have their vote.
I appreciate that. Make sure you're signing the constitutional amendment petition that we're circulating right now. We're in the process of gaining 425,059 signatures plus the margin of error ones.
We're good.
We're good. Sweet. I don't have to melt anymore. All right, guys. I love you so much. Thank you for staying engaged, staying informed. In the end, it doesn't matter if you agree with me or not. I just want you to know the truth. I want each and every one of you to read the bills. Don't read the stinking summary. Don't stop reading this. Do you know how many people I saw? The only people that were giving me a hard time are people that literally did not read it, or that just read the summary, or that seem to think microchipping human beings is okay in any scenario. So come on, guys, at least read the bills. I will probably try to sign on tomorrow to give some kind of, I don't know, encouragement or information. But if I don't, please know that it's because it's my birthday. So I do enjoy hearing from you all. And don't forget that we'll be in Lansing with Chad's, I guess, freedom rally, if you will. We are not directly circulating his recall petitions. The only petitions being circulated on Saturday will be our Restore Freedom Initiative constitutional amendment petition. So this kind of crap doesn't happen anymore because there won't be a legislative council, among other things. Do come out to the Capitol on Saturday, starting at 9 o'clock in the morning and going possibly all the way to 9 o'clock at night. We'll also be in Door for the parade and other festivities this weekend. The parade itself, I believe, starts at 10 this Saturday, which I will be there, and might have a special surprise in store for you if you go. We'll definitely have circulators there. Door also has other activities today, tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday, and we'll have people there throughout the weekend. And of course, in Traverse City tomorrow, we'll definitely have circulators. And from what I hear, it's going to be a great Traverse City celebration for my birthday, so I'm really excited about that. I know we must have other events, so please make sure to check our website, restorefreedommi.com, and look for the Where to Sign tab, and there's a listing of events. So we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to see you this weekend. Whether you agree with us or not, come on out, ask questions, make comments, share your concerns or your appreciation either way. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks so much, everyone.